Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our new edition of Big Brother 23 live feed spoilers. We advertised, I know to great enthusiasm yesterday, that this is going to be the week of Brent. This is the Brent show. We are all just like unwilling guest stars in it right now.
We've got some stuff to talk about, and a lot of it has to do with Brent. And I mean, what did we expect?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff. Yes, this week is pretty predictable. But there's a lot of where do we go from here? There's a lot of questions as to who should trust who. Are people actually going to try to win the next HoH? Like, there's all sorts of stuff to get into. But of course, why not hit that subscribe button? Because every day we're breaking down Big Brother 23. We're giving you guys the insight and covering a lot of other great shows like Animal Kingdom, Power Book 3, The Blacklist.
Yep. Okay, so let's get into it. After the veto ceremony, Brent went and told Derek X and Kylan that Alyssa doesn't trust Xavier anymore and that the Mafia, this alliance that no one really talks about, is running the house now. Lols.
Lols, indeed. Now, okay, we set this up a little bit in yesterday's update that Brent had devised this plan to sort of make sure that he could trust Alyssa, and Alyssa came through with it, but it was sort of like a plan within a plan because Alyssa knew and she was advised that she should do this to make Brent still buy into what she is saying, and it has worked hook, line, and sinker.
Yep. So, this is kind of where we are now because Alyssa really wants a unanimous vote to clown and put him in the clown car, Brent, and drive him around with the two steering wheels all over the house. And, I haven't been the biggest Alyssa fan, but I am here for this idea. I would love to see this happen.
I am here for Alyssa's brand of petty. Like, this is, as much as Alyssa in the showman stuff with Christian is not fun, she deserves this moment. She deserves to watch Brent get evicted unanimously. I do not think there's going to be any hinky votes, at least for now, in all of this.
No, Alyssa is playing a fairly solid game. Like I said, she's not necessarily my favorite player, but she's in a very good position. A lot of people trust her. She has made Brent trust her to like a crazy degree to this, where she's just like, oh man, now I'm ready to just clown him right out the door.
It's going to be fun. It's going to, I want.
If it works, it'll be fun.
I want every goodbye message on the show. Like, give everyone, just take time from something else. I want every single person.
Let's watch every person pie him in the face on the way out.
Can we get the real pies to do this? Pies in the face, always funny. Okay. Meanwhile, also in the degree of what is also funny is Derek F. Derek F. He has this conversation with Brent last night, and like, I don't know how much Brent was like aware about everything, but he meant to say to Brent, if you go home, but Derek F. said when you go home in the middle of this conversation.
Oh no. Yeah, no, it was a no.
See, Derek, I understand. Everybody goes home eventually, right? Like, he could have sold it like that. I don't think he did, but he could have sold it like that.
Yeah, he could have sold. I think it's just, this is a hard game because there is so much lying and it's hard to keep up with all your lies. That's why whenever there's people that come into the house, are like, I'm going to lie about my job. I'm going to lie about my age. I'm going to lie about my kids. It's just like, man, you are already going to have so many lies that you're balancing that you really need to not have to balance that too.
Yeah, and we're expecting everyone this week to have a PhD in acting. But the reality is just that it's hard, especially when you're all collectively looking ahead and thinking about what the next week is going to hold. You don't want to keep having to just put up this wall and deal with Brent's nonsense.
Yeah.
But yet here we all are, still dealing with Brent's nonsense.
Yeah, but again, I will give it to Brent. I know that that's not something that you guys want to hear because there's a lot of people like me that just want Brent gone.
Yeah.
But he is still campaigning, and that is the right thing to do. I don't want to see people on the block sitting around feeling comfortable, being like, I don't need to do anything. There's always gameplay to be had here. So he is still campaigning, and he was campaigning to Derek F.
Yeah.
saying that he will go after Xavier if he wins, which I'm sure is not a shock to anybody.
No.
I mean, after that conversation he had with Xavier, where he's kind of like, don't put me up, man. If you do, this is going to be a problem for you and me. Our relationship is going to change. Okay, yeah, I get it. So here they are.
I also appreciate Derek F's continued efforts to just gas him up by like feeding into his paranoia about the women's alliance and that is some sort of like actual legitimate thing. Like we've talked in the past about how Derek F does want to make sure that some guys stay in the game, but at the same time,
not Brent. Nobody wants this.
No, and like I don't think Derek F like legitimately thinks that the entire house is being driven by some women's alliance, but seeing him tell Brent this is pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, Brent also, speaking of funny, thinks that he has his team vote.
Yeah, so, Brent.
And listen, I get it to some degree. Again, this is his team. His team should be out there fighting to keep him. But, of course, he doesn't know that his team, through the HoH, tried to ensure that Brittany didn't get the safety. Yeah. Like, they are really making sure he goes home.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
No, he's still completely in the dark. And even with Derek F sort of telling him that he's leaning towards keeping Brittany, which, I don't think that sounds an alarm for Brent. They're teammates. Derek F's not going to want to get rid of a teammate. He still thinks he could get the numbers elsewhere. He feels like, okay, I'm all right. I'm good. I don't want to say he doesn't think he has anything to worry about, because I'm sure he is worried.
Of course he's worried. He's campaigning. He's trying to make sure he's got his votes, where he's kind of like, okay, I've got my team votes, so now I need this many more votes. It'll be fine.
We're going into Tuesday, and of course this is when campaigning should really heat up. We're looking at you, Frenchie, and Travis, who did nothing on Tuesdays the past couple of weeks.
No, that's why I'm saying that as much as I am not a fan of Brent, I am a fan of people who will campaign and want to stay there.
Okay, so I'm sure we'll have more to say about Brent down the road, but we will move
They're
ahead.
Good for the Brent for now.
We're gonna take a Brent break, everybody.
Please.
We'll go over to Brittany and what she wants to do now, because we've talked that it seems like Whitney is a large target moving forward.
Yeah.
Brittany now seems to be reasonably on board with the idea of targeting her next, and it kind of feels like Whitney and Alyssa, they may not be on like the bottom of everybody in the house, but it seems like they're kind of on the bottom of the women who are left in the house.
Yeah, but Alyssa is very well protected by the men in the house. So it'll be... Alyssa is really the bigger target. Like, Whitney is not the bigger target. She really hasn't done a lot of anything yet. So could she be a threat down the road? Sure, but she's not right now. Alyssa is.
If I was in the game, I would want Alyssa out yesterday. I would be working to get her on the block, to get her out of the game, because the longer, and we've seen this with showmances over the years, like the longer that you keep a showmance in the game, the stronger they become, because they get closer. It's also just 2 votes as opposed to 1. They think together. If they each have any allies, they kind of just get like molded and blobbed into it all.
Yes, and there are a lot of men that are also protecting her. So there are enough numbers right now to get her out. But if the other side ends up dwindling in numbers, there will never be enough people to get her out.
Yeah, there needs to be some urgency. I don't know if there's enough urgency right now for my liking, because, people are concerned about Whitney, who is, I guess, she's decent at the game. She's not terrible, but she's not a threat.
No, she's doing fine. Like, nothing is really happening, but she's getting really heavily targeted for not really doing a lot to be targeted for.
What's interesting is sort of seeing a lot of individual conversations and kind of getting a sense of like who people are worried about and how some of that may be a surprise. Mm-hmm. Like, because Kylan and Derek X, they had this conversation, and Kylan is really more concerned about Brittany than I actually thought. Like, he wants her gone, not this week. Let's hold our horses here, but fairly sooner rather than later. Like, he's a little bit worried about her.
actually be getting worried about her too. She's been on the block twice. She's had a very rough reaction to being on the block twice. She has sort of started to be like, I'm going to come after this person, or I deserve an apology, or whatever it is. She is feeling a lot in this game, and I get it. This is a difficult game. You're locked up in the house, and that's all you can do is think yourself to death. And now she's also been on the block twice, so she's got to really be in her head about stuff, and that can start to be making her a bit more dangerous, because it will light a fire under her to win stuff and take aim at people and stuff like that.
I suppose there is a fair concern with her because you don't know for sure what she's gonna do, and she keeps saying that she's gonna win some competitions, like eventually, especially if all these other people keep threatening to throw them, like it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I think that she's more than capable of winning competitions, and once she does, I think the nervous part is that a couple of people have kind of burned her now, so she's going to probably remember that and come after them if she wins something. So, should Kylan be a little bit worried? Yeah.
Here's who Derek X is worried about, and this one is fascinating to me because Derek X, I think he's figuring some stuff out here. I think he was kind of struggling early on, but now he's worried that Tiffany is really good at lying. Congratulations, Derek X. You are correct. She may be the best player in the game.
I think she's the best player in the game. I really do. She's playing just such a smooth social game. She is very good at balancing her lies, remembering what she has said to everybody. She is dangerous. Yes, Derek X, you have figured it out. Good for you. You get a cookie. Now, what are you going to do about it?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, who do you put Tiffany up on? Like, even if you would like, I really want Tiffany out next week, which we're not going that far here, but like, who do you put Tiffany up against where Tiffany actually goes?
Yeah, I don't know, right? Like, Tiffany is so well liked. This is why I've said for a while now, you do not want to be at the end sitting against Tiffany. And the more she stays there, the harder, like Alyssa, it's going to be hard to get her out because she is making connections with everyone. Everyone trusts her. She is very good at balancing her lies. Yeah. And only one person has figured it out.
Yeah.
And it's not enough.
No, it's not enough. And Derek X should be worried just himself about competitions because he's won so many of them already, and you can't win too many too fast. So there's all this stuff he's got to sort of juggle. But this is a good transition to jumping over to Tiffany and what she and Claire are kind of thinking about with their own future.
Yeah. Okay,
so this is going to sound like a recurring theme. They don't really want to win the next HoH.
Yeah, and now we're starting to get into week 4 here. This is around a good time to actually win HoH, I feel, because it's typically one where less people are going to be mad about things. Yeah. The person you're sending out is not going to jury, so you don't have to really worry about their feelings and keeping their vote and stuff like that. This is the better time to be HoH and get people out. That way you're building your resume, you're HoH, you're getting people out, you have something to stand on at the end of it, but they're not a jury member.
No, and I think it's okay to win an HoH now. Like, I get where they're coming from, just from the vantage point of, okay, if I can have somebody else do my dirty work for me, that's great. Neither one of them is probably in immediate danger, but it doesn't really matter if you actually want the game to go a specific way. You kind of have to dictate it more directly here and there, and I kind of feel like this week coming up is a little bit more ambiguous. It's not a slam dunk that Whitney goes next week. It's possible.
Yeah, and for both of them, they have been really relying on their social game, which is fine. Yeah. We've seen people social game their way all the way to the end. It's happened before, and they've won. But in the newer age of Big Brother, it seems that you have to have competition wins. You can't just sit at the end and be like, hey, I played an amazing social game and I got here completely based on that. I didn't have to win nothing to get here. And you guys all let me get here based on my social game, so I deserve to win.
Yeah, that can be really, really tricky sometimes. But, their thinking here is just that, okay, if somebody in the aces win HoH, they can target one of the kings, get those numbers down a little bit. Or if the jokers win, those feisty jokers, they can be the ones that then go after Whitney.
This is a very sort of, like you said, ambiguous week. It depends on who wins because there is no clear target. A lot of people think it might be Whitney, but as we've explained, it is not only Whitney. She is not the only target. There are a few.
Let's spend the last couple of minutes here talking a little bit about the jokers because Tiffany's worried that they are a little bit too emotional. And, Azza and Brittany and Derek F., they're not necessarily the players that are the most completely attuned to everything all the time. I know Azza's in the cookout, but there's been a little bit of tension there.
Yeah, with everything that went on with Brittany being put on the block, and she was really upset about it. And, it's tough. And Brittany has been emotional about being put on the block a few times, no disrespect to that. I understand it's an emotional thing to be put on the block over and over and over again. You don't really know what's going on because it's so early in the game.
I'm going to just transport myself into the diary room here for a moment because I have some advice I need to hand down to the jokers.
All right.
This pains me to say in a way because I really like Azza, but I think she needs to hear this.
Yes.
Everyone in the house, they're treating you guys like jokers. They're treating you guys like you are sort of expendable and not that important. I know, Azza, I know you're in a really good alliance, but I feel like you're not in a power position in that anymore either. I think you guys actually are the one team that needs to legitimately stay together and work together because as crazy as it may seem, it's almost like the alliance that's so obvious nobody may see it coming if they actually dominate a certain portion of the game.
Yeah, because it does feel like Azza's at the bottom of the cookout after what happened because you saw Xavier Stephen saying, like, you are part of my alliance. Why would I put you up over Brittany? That doesn't make any sense. You should be happy that I would never burn you and put you on the block for anybody else.
Yeah.
And that she's willing to burn herself for Brittany. So if she is at the bottom of the cookout or she's feeling like she's at the bottom of the cookout, pulling together with her team with Brittany, who she seems very close to, and Derek F. is not a bad move.
No, and I think Brittany is, no offense to Brittany, but I just think based on what I've seen from the past couple of weeks from her, I think she's beatable at the end of the game. I think you can beat her if you're Azza, if you're Derek F.
It's early.
It is early. Things can change. They may very well change. Yeah. But, all right, well, we'll tie up this edition of Big Brother 23 live feed spoilers. Let's hope for an active day, though I understand in saying that it means probably a lot of the Brent show, but
also I want to remind everybody that today is July 27th. This is the day that Mad Rose cookbook actually drops. It is no longer pre-order. It is ready to rock and roll. So head over to Amazon. I'm going to put a link in the description for you if you haven't picked it up yet. It is ready to go.
If you can't tell, we love Maddie and Mad Rose.
Yeah, we do.
So thank you guys so much for watching. Leave your thoughts on this video in the comments. Check out our other coverage. Animal Kingdom, The Blacklist, Power Book 3, American Horror Stories. We got a lot going on here. Yeah. We'll see you guys here next time.